Good morning. It's Sunday, the 3rd of November 2019, and today we're on day 10 of the Red Serpent Spiral. So we are here on White Planetary Wizard. So this is a really key code at this time because we've just started a new 13-year cycle in White Wizard on the 26th of July, and that's basically refining the previous 13-year cycle of Red Moon, which began on the 26th of July 2006. So again, this is a wonderful way to look at what was happening for you then, that 13-year cycle. What were you awakening to around your authenticity and being the beacon of light, being in alignment with truth? And often that will have been revealed, manifest as challenges, moving away from old ways of being that our ego mind does not like, because it has been programmed to stay in the comfort zone in ways which are very unhealthy for us, especially in relationship. So in order to survive, we have often overridden truth, overridden authenticity, stuffed it down, and had to make the best of things, and often been in huge fear. Again, going back thousands of years, the next step of our personal ancestral evolution. So it's remembering that there are different perceptions happening for us. In our logical mind, we may be able to look onto our behaviour and choices and say, wow, part of me is totally crazy. You know, what am I doing this for? And then the more that you learn about becoming self-empowered, about how our mind and body work, the more you get to realise that part of us is actually crazy, you know, because it does insane things in order to be in denial of certain things, in order to not see. Again, part of the spiritual path is we have to come in and not see and not know things and make unconscious choices because we're going through a process of refinement. So again, the red castle, which is red dragon, begins at the start of every 9-month spiral. It's the birthing process. We're going through the tunnel, and in our own tribal code, our own Mayan code, that will be our personal red castle. So we come into awakening, then we go into the white castle, which is all about refinement, and then we go into the blue castle, which is all about transformation, and then we go into the yellow castle, which is all about manifestation. And that's all we have as our personal Mayan tribal coding. In terms of this, we also have the green castle as well. So we have a fifth element here that we don't have in our own personal coding. And once we get into the green castle every time in this spiral, we see how healed our heart is, how much we're living in truth, and how much we're living in deception. Now, at this time, for a lot of people, this is a very painful process. It's a very painful journey because we're coming out through this intense transformation process. So big stuff is coming up for us right now. It's Scorpio season, it's a triple goddess, and often we're going through primary survival code that we're rewiring at the moment. So it is difficult to be in truth when we are codependent with somebody, when we're reliant with somebody or something for our very survival needs to be met. And this time around, it's very much not about the sacrifice. You know, it's about becoming wise and choosing your battles, if you like, not putting yourself at risk wherever you possibly can, so that you can chop wood, carry water at this time, and come into self-empowerment in a wise way with as little drama as possible. So the way that I do this is I use emotional freedom technique to release all my rage that is coming up. A lot of people have got rage at this time about unfair narcissistic behaviour, and because the narcissistic behaviour is the ruling force at this time on planet Earth. So it's really good to come into understanding how this narcissistic pattern works, and I guarantee that you will be on the receiving end of it in some way, because a lot of people in past generations have had extreme trauma as children and have never gone beyond that emotional development stage. They're stuck in it. And so they haven't developed the tools, they haven't got emotional intelligence of a mature adult in many ways. And we can see this happening on the planet now, where people are behaving like children, having temper tantrums and doing whatever they want without any thoughts about anyone else. So the main countries in power play at the moment, a lot of that way of relating to the rest of the world and to its citizens, the whole banking structure as well. Look at the history, do the research, Google it, and see where it hails from, where it comes from. And usually where it comes from is deep, deep wounding way back, and then unconscious thought patterns and belief systems that are just around survival and not caring about anyone else. So there's a summit coming up on Sounds True, if you want to check it out as well. I've just registered for it. It starts tomorrow. Just look for Sounds True, Google that, go on Facebook and register for it. Sounds good. I don't know what it will be like, but I like sharing resources that help people become aware with information, become empowered by understanding how these patterns are formed, how they manifest in people, how to become very aware of narcissists in your life, and how to understand why they come into your life. And my perspective on that is they're master teachers around self-empowerment, around becoming free. They are great at showing you where your triggers are, where your weaknesses are, where you have created beliefs as a child that you are not enough, that you are not worthy. Again, it goes into a massive cultural conditioning and a way of disempowering the population in order to control it. So on lots of levels, it's great to understand about this and then start to really work with it in your own personal pattern. So today we've got Moon, again waxing up to a full moon in Taurus, and it's 28 degrees. I'm just going to read you that, which talks about all of this stuff. Inside Degrees, aquaorfire.net, and we've got Capricorn at 28. Okay, so a mirror covered with a fine film of dust, making a place for everything in reaction to previous rigidities, encouraging all facets to run wild. You are held within a witnessing posture that must balance the cosmic equation. a fabulous array of distortions become possible, including hiding from yourself everywhere in opposites and reversals, exceedingly adept at using consciousness falsely for power or control, for hidden purposes or out of strange curiosity. Most radically prone to playing out patterns or syndromes that you are convinced will soon be taken away, so must be binged upon first. Strange spiritual notions and ideologies. You need to drop the vast bulk of your voluminous self-indulgences in order to, after all, start to wake up and really remember purpose and the whole story, free from self-indication and equally self-condemnation. So the narcissists reveal the parts of us on the outside that are seeking healing on the inside. In terms of astrology, the moon goddess is all about the asteroid belt. And so key asteroids in your chart, how Mia is a really key one, 136108. And this shows the midwife process in your chart as to what is seeking to be rebirthed now. So the triple goddess again is around, first of all, understanding what our survival codes are and where we're still running them. This is what this axis is all about, the Taurus Scorpio axis. Power struggle, feeling disempowered. How do we take our power back? We go through all past times, literally rerun the movie again, which is stored in our amygdala, and then we feel the feeling that we feel, and then we clear it so that we get the emotional intensity in that movie as low as we possibly can. And often what we find is it's linked to other threads in our life, other movies. Clear those, get as clear as we can. When we get clear, then we're not creating the same emotional drama that was created when the original event took place. This is really key. Now, in some traditions, this is done by recapitulation, for example. So in the old shamanic tradition, you would go in a cave and you would cast out, you would speak about all of this with the intention of clearing it, and you would feel the emotion, you would go into understanding that this is a story. This is a story that you have created within yourself, and it's a distorted story. And in terms of how the emotional mind works, the fight, flight, or freeze system, that story is still held in our DNA, in our amygdala, until we raise it to conscious awareness and until we clear it. The white wizard is a bit of a misnomer because it is all about the moon goddess Ixchel. So again, do your cookie trail on that. Check her out. She's a midwife. Again, traditionally, women would have been the midwife, bringing people into the world. They would also be responsible for death process as well. So women in the village would have been responsible for all of those processes. Back in the day then as well, we had women, the matriarchy, and a lot of the land was owned by women. Again, Google this, do your research. And at the time of the Inquisition, there was a bigger, deeper agenda around power and control. Check out the Borgias. That's a really powerful one, and understand where all these frameworks have come from in the past. They have been about disempowering women. They have been about taking over control of key areas that women had power in around birth and death, and allowing a whole medical program to come in, most of which is so disempowering because it's around somebody else telling you how your health is and offering you very disempowering processes that actually all they do is they mask your symptoms. in the medical model. They just mask the symptoms. They make the part of you that's trying to speak about the dis-ease and again, how we perceive mental illness. There's still a huge stigma about that. Hysteria, women who traditionally are the emotional ones, being locked away, locked up because there's something wrong with them, because they're speaking truth about how the masculine is creating these disempowering frameworks and destroying the earth and destroying other beings and habitats, and with no wisdom, because it's coming from this wounded child place. So back to the old ways of being around wisdom. And as soon as we start to get clear about what we've been programmed, what we've been told is good for us, which generally is just to sell something, just to sell a particular model of health, which is totally untrue and does not serve us anymore, and has created huge disease in human beings. And it is very difficult at first to even grasp this concept, because there's so much programming going on, and there's so much feeling within us that, well, how do I know what the truth is? You know, how do I know how to take care of myself, what to eat, how to be, what to do next? But again, just being gentle with this process and trusting that it's coming in. Again, Moon Goddess is all about letting the magic flow through us. So in astrology, this is your 10th house, your heart's desire. And whatever planets you have in there, wherever your astrology is in there, this is key. Your midheaven on your charts is key. Midheaven on the planet right now is in Cancer. So again, look how that aligns with, we have Cancer in the spiral, because the spiral began on the 13th of July in Cancer. And so this is what we're working through, learning how to mother and nurture ourselves in a healthy way to get our own emotional needs met without relying on somebody else to do that. So becoming very centered, very grounded, learning all the processes to do that, because the storm is coming. Okay, so the next 13-year cycle after this one is in Blue Storm. And as you can see, the acceleration's happening now on the planet, and things are really starting to break down in order to break through. So it's important to work with our fear around this and our fears of what's happening within our own personal circle. The Moon Goddess is a mastery process. So once we get past 13, which we did yesterday, so again, Red Skywalker is number 13, and we've completed the human being process in terms of the first 13 signs, and then we go on to the 7 mastery codes, and White Wizard is the first one of those. So the more that we focus on trusting that there is a divine plan, trusting that we're all part of that, however things are playing out right now, trusting that this is taking us through a process, no matter how painful. In order to birth a child, it is a painful process. And when it's done naturally, when it's done in alignment with wisdom of women who have done this for many, many years, who know about this stuff on a deep level and are following the traditional guidelines around birthing a child, then it's a very different process to a managed process in a hospital where a lot of men are involved. This is women's realm. This is women's wisdom. Women have cycles, and they have a very different way of being to men. And this is return to the sacred feminine now. So into balance with the sacred feminine, because we've gone so out of balance. We're in the extreme tail end now of the patriarchal wounding. So again, this is about men and women on every level coming into balance within themselves. And so what began for you on the 26th of July this year, because that's when the new 13-year cycle began, and the first 28 days of that, what were you working with then around your self-empowerment issues? How are you feeling today? Because we're in the self-existing moon now, and we're in a time that is all about seeing how we can stand on our own 2 feet, how we can speak our truth, how we can feel empowered. And all the triggers, all the reasons why we're not, is where we need to be working now. This is the dark half of the year. This is the time for doing this work, so that when we get to Aries time next year, we're going to be in a very different place. Of course, this work happens all the time, and every day is a good practice to be working on yourself and becoming aware of your triggers. It's key to know thyself. It's key to being an alchemist. It's all about being proactive rather than reactive. So I hope you have an amazing day of letting the magic flow through you and seeing where you have resistance to that, seeing where you have shoulds and coming up. It shouldn't be like this, resistance to what is, and notice what that's all about. Another really useful question is for the future, your future self. If you have a little chat with your future self, something that I used to do a lot when I was going through a very challenging time, is what did this allow to happen, this process? Where is it taking me? How is it setting me free? How is it empowering me? This is an experiential process here on planet Earth. This is not an intellectual process. Uranus in Taurus is all about embodiment and showing us where we really are on our path. This is a maturation process for each individual. It's the emotional evolution. So it's time to heal our emotions and embody self-control, discipline, emotional intelligence, emotional resilience, being in our center no matter what is going on around us, so that we can embody truth and create structures in our life that affect the whole of community, that allows the new dream to come in. Lots of love. Bye for now.